Welcome back, everyone. In this portion, we're going to go into the workflow itself. So let's start with the workflow visual of this. You start off with the Power BI desktop. It's almost always the place that you go to create your visuals, to bring your data together and work on it to create the charts or the figures or the visuals that you want to present. Once you've finished doing that, then you publish it to the Power BI service. And of course, there's two ways for people to access. If it's on the cloud, you can access it either via the browser, which is what Power BI services can be done. Of course, you can look at it from your mobile phone as well using your browser. Although being on a mobile makes it a little bit difficult to view that. Hence, there is a separate way or delivery platform or channel for you to view, which is via the Power BI mobile, which is much more mobile friendly rather than having to rely on all the work being done by the browser itself. So just a quick summary on this part: you start with Power BI desktop, followed by Power BI service or Power BI mobile. So let's look at the first example. We want to look at the best states for retirement, and this data is extracted online by bankrate.com. If you just Google it a little bit, you will be able to actually find the data quite easily. The title of their blog is called Best and Worst States for Retirement. We're not exactly following the example. We're just making use of the data because the data is quite handy and useful for the purpose of our exercise. So if you look at this, this is the example of the states for retirement, Power BI desktop. This is the final outcome of what you can work towards. So you can see here there are the top three states. Top left corner here, you have the states. You can look at the overall ranking, and then you have another so-called visuals here, which gives you a breakdown in terms of the states, as well as the different matrix that's used. You can select states via this way, and you have another visual here which is presented in the format of a heat map style. And finally, down here you have the example of what you call map visuals. Okay, so we're gonna dive straight in and look at the first visual. So this is see this as a way to motivate you, and just so you can actually see what can be done with Power BI as well. This is a brand new Power BI, as you can see from the top here. It's untitled. So the first thing we need to do is to actually get the data. So the data source that we have after we download it from the source, the file is called Bankrate. As you can see here, this is actually a Microsoft Excel worksheet. So we're going to make use of this. So select that and open the file. And wait for that to come through. In this case, let me just bring the file over. This is what the Excel file looked like. The info here basically say where the source of the data, where you can actually get the data from. So let me just hide the grid so that it's easier to see. Yeah, so it's bankrate.com, retirement, best and worst states for retirement. So we'll head over to sheet number 2. This is where our data resides. So shift this away again, come back to here. Sheet number 2 is where our data is. Now, before you click load, it's always a good idea to look at transform data. The reason that you want to look at transform data is to just inspect the data a little bit. Look out for errors, look out for a whole lot of other things that anything that's abnormal or anomalies. So it should actually come out here. Right, so I'm not too sure why it didn't pop up in front, but nevertheless we can see that now. You can see here, this is state and ABC and overall rank. These are all stated as 1, 2, 3. If you ever wonder what these are, you only have to click this, and then it'll give you a descriptors of what it is. 1, 2, 3 basically means this whole number. If you look carefully in terms of the data, you're probably not familiar with this, and neither are you familiar with Power BI. So don't be too concerned that you're not familiar with Power BI. We will go through that step by step. Once you've gone through the actual tutorial and the classes, online classes on all of these Power BI the different components of it, you will be able to actually follow along, and you will even be able to create this without without watching what I'm doing right now. Essentially, the idea here is to see, let you see what the workflow looks like. And the way that the data has been created is that you have 50 states here. Should be 50 states. Yep, 50 states here. And the states are ranked based on each and every one of these factors. Affordability, Nebraska is ranked 14, Iowa is ranked 8, so it's all 1 to 50. Crime, likewise, is ranked 1 to 50, so there is an equal first here, but ultimately they all rank 1 to 50. Right, so I can see that there's nothing wrong here. All the data looks overall fine. Once we're happy with that, then we click close and apply. So again, don't be too concerned to want to follow along. It'll be very difficult if you are just looking at Power BI for the first time. So again, I'm trying to show you these to illustrate what you can do with Power BI, and the purpose of it is just so that you understand the workflow. So what I want to do now is just to add a few things. We want to add a text box just so that we have a title. So it says top 3 states for retirement. So that's the first one, and I'm going to change this to shade 40. All right, so I'll put this here and just drag it across so that we actually have a title here. All right, so roughly that will do. The second one, the visuals that I want to add really is a table. So it will create that for me. The next thing I want to do is the states. I want to look at states. So this is the data. Once you import the data will come through here. And then the second one I want to look at is Overrode Rank. And here we have it here. So we have this. And I don't want it to show everything, but generally this is not too bad. Let me just sort this. I want to sort it, sort by overall rank from 1. Now is inverse sorting, so I want it to be ascending. So the first is Nebraska, followed by Iowa, and followed by Missouri. So let me just take this to the top here. This is a bit too small, so I want to change the so-called font style so that it's actually a little bit larger. I should be able to actually change that either under style, not really that, under values. So let's change the font size to about 15. Okay, and I just don't want to, I just want to see the top 3. I don't need the total number, so I should turn that off. And there you go. We just want to see the top 3. That looks about right. Okay, that's exactly what I want to do. Of course, we can do some tweaking in terms of the title, makes it bigger, but that's sufficient for what we want to actually do here. So the next thing that I want to do is add a grid or matrix. I should actually use the proper terminology. Okay, and drag that out a little bit like this. And what do we want to do? We want to view the states, and we want to look at the affordability, and the next one is the crime, followed by culture, followed by the weather, and followed by the wellness, and finally the overall rank. So with this, you can basically see a breakdown of all of them one by one. Once again, I don't really want the total. The total doesn't actually mean much here. Yeah, and we have that in place in terms of that. Now, as I mentioned before, you can actually do a few things with these. You can, of course, make sure I select this. You can actually change the style, change it to bold header if you want to, and there's a few others for you to actually play around with as well. So I'll just leave it at that. The next thing is that we do want to have a look at the heat map. So we saw that earlier. So with the heat map, once again, we want to actually look at the states. The states is what we actually want to group them by. We want to actually add the overall rank, but we want to inverse the overall rank. Let me see where that is. Show value as, okay, it doesn't have one, so I have to create one. So I need to actually add a new column. Okay, I'll just call this inverse. overall rank. So this is an example of what you call DEX. It looks almost like Excel in terms of the formula. So double click that. Notice that it suggested the field. When I type overall, I haven't finished typing, it already auto suggests for me. So this is what I want to plot. Now the reason I want to plot inverse really is that I want the states with the rank the first to be the largest, right? Largest in terms of the overall rank. That way I can actually see the states that actually have the rank first, really. So if otherwise, if I plot it as the data suggests, then Maryland will be, which is the bottom, will have the largest box, which is kind of like counterintuitive. So as a result, I have to actually flip the number just so that Nebraska, being the top states for retirement, show up as number 1, followed by Iowa, Missouri, and on it goes. Okay, the next one that we do want to actually add is finally time to do some visuals. So add a bit of graph here. So again, we're still plotting states. We want to look at the crime rate, and we also want to look at the overall rank. So let's just put this here. Of course, you can actually improve this substantially. Okay, so we've done that. Let me make sure these are aligned, and this can probably blow it up a little bit to that. And the final one is what we call a slider, which is this one here. We want to slide by state as well as state, followed by crime. Okay, let's just put that there. All right, so that's it. That's really the dashboard created. I don't know how long it took us to create this. My guess is that it didn't take very long, probably about 10 minutes to create all of these. Once we pull the data in, of course that 10 minutes is inclusive of my introduction and all the back and forth of it. So if you look at this, essentially this is really the dashboard created, and if you want to dive in a little bit, let's just say you want to look at Missouri, you can select Missouri, and you'll notice that everything changed. It will bring up the Missouri, or highlight Missouri. The states with the heat map will also be highlighted. You can see Missouri is highlighted here, and the states is also being highlighted here in the map itself. So let me just select Missouri again, or select twice, then to unselect it. Okay, so in terms of, you can also use the slider to choose. Let's just say we want to look Alaska, which is 49. Okay, in terms of the values, I'm not too sure that's extremely useful. So what we can do is we can remove that. Oh, wrong one. So let's undo that. Over here, okay, remove the crime. Then we don't actually have the arrow down or the caret. So let's just say we select Arkansas. Okay, then you can see the states being selected. Of course, this is going to be really big, and you notice that there is the what do you call it? Once you select this, you can actually see the tooltip provide the data as well. You can look at Delaware. Strangely, it doesn't show up on the map, which is interesting. It's not able to find Delaware. That's so sad. What happened to Bing? How about Florida? Okay, this is not updating for some reason. Okay, let's find Florida. How about Delaware? Oh, there we go. Okay, maybe it's just a little bit of the internet connectivity there. Yeah, so let's erase that. Then we actually select all the states, as you can see. This is really the first visual I want to show you in terms of the workflow. So we've created a dashboard now. The next thing to do is actually to publish this. Once you click save, you do need to actually give this a title. I'll call this states example. Okay, and just give it a short while for it to publish this. Okay, right, publish it to my workspace and wait for it publishing. publishing, and once it's done, success. Okay. Of course, while you're waiting, it'll provide some suggestions and even tells you that you can actually create the mobile layout view for you. On the view tab, which is this view tab here, you can select the mobile layout. So we say got it, and we bring our browser view over here. This is Power BI Serve, right? So you can actually maximize this. View full screen. Okay. And this is the same visuals that we have, except now it's served, Power BI Serve, rather than Power BI Desktop. Now you are viewing this within the browser itself. And this is where I mentioned before, you can actually share this with others and do a lot more with this. Just remember this, you have the Power BI Desktop, publish it to the Power BI service or Power BI Mobile. Let me just quickly talk about the Power BI Mobile as well. Notice that these are the visuals that we created earlier. You can actually drag this. This is obviously a text box. You can drag it here, and that takes up some of your real estate. You can drag it this here, and this is your map, right? Okay, the only problem is that you run out of space with the mobile very quickly. So what do? What you can do is that you can create a new page and on it goes. Or you can, alternatively, you can slide down and drag this here, put this here, and then drag this here. This is for the filter. Maybe we don't need the filter. Let's remove that. Let's bring in the heat map. Tidy that up a little bit. Yeah. So there you go. That's our mobile view. So essentially, rather than doing it in the normal desktop view, so this is how you can actually do the mobile view. Thank you for watching.